Hi all, welcome to this objective breakdown for Osimhen, James and Odegaard, just to kind of explain how you can do all three pretty much simultaneously and get yourself sorted in the process. So if you can smash links would be awesome. Sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at @GIsALegend. All links are down below for posting the channel and social media links as always. Comment down below how you're doing with the objectives, if you've done any of them. I'm going to explain where I'm at obviously with each of them and you'll see as well. But this kind of stems from a few folk have been explaining this, breaking it all down, and it's actually very easy. Now, in the very first game, if you've not done any of them at all, you can pretty much do each of them. I'm going to show them as well as you break them down. But for the first the first objective in each player, you can pretty much do them combined. So like Osimhen is a League 1 player, so you just all you need is someone that's like anyone from League 1, but because Odegaard needs a midfielder, a good way about it is you could do a League 1 midfielder and same for Premier League, so that way you can tick those both off. But it's once you get into the actual teams, like each individual players, for each individual one, so the ones that are where it's like assist and a goal with the respective player, you can literally do them with a mate. You'll see some folk will say squad battles, but the first 4 objectives can all be done in like a mate through doing the like foot friendlies. So once you've done all that, you then focus on like obviously where it's either assist or a low driven, whatever it may be. What you kind of then want is to kind of have a team, and I'll show a squad example just to break it down as well, is where you would then have your mate kind of you'd message the opponent kind of saying, I'm doing these 3 players for objectives, is it okay if I get the assist or a finesse or a low driven, whatever it may be, whatever kind of objective it is that you're kind of trying to focus on between like the 84 like Odegaard or the 82 Osimhen or what. But obviously when it comes to James, you have to obviously, it's all squad battles, but it's once you kind of Osimhen and Odegaard can be done simultaneously. It's only once you go past the 4th objective for James is when you kind of then have to rely on squad battles. So you've obviously got to understand at the same time that you've got to kind of juggle a little bit with that. And like in terms of games, you genuinely can be done in 20 games. That's kind of the aim of it, like 20 games for Odegaard, and then obviously you've got to then factor in the amount of games that you've got to play with James, and then the amount of games that you've got 15 games with James and then 20 goals with Osimhen. But they're not really difficult. Obviously this could be a starting squad that you could go with a mate, then it ticks off the League 1 element, it ticks off the midfield part, and you wouldn't exactly be kind of like stretched from there. And obviously Premier League, so overall obviously it doesn't really matter who you use. You can use a bronze squad for all it matters to get the first part done, and then once you kind of tick off the first objectives that were obviously the whether it may be assist or score with mids or whatever, once you kind of then tick them all off, you then say to yourself you can then add in the first initial card. So like you would add the 75 James, you would add the 79 Osimhen, and then you would add the 80 Odegaard. You don't have to worry about what position they're in either. You don't have to go overly fancy about it, and it makes it easier. And then once you've done that, you then obviously just do with your mate. You're basically then getting all the goals, all the assists, and then obviously when you have to obviously play 3 or 4 games, that's when you obviously then unlock them accordingly. So that way you've then smashed them out of the park, and you can say to yourself, right, I'm 4 out of 11 right away. We then have to focus on the online element. Now obviously in the online itself, you're not going to use James at all in your squad, so I'll keep him in just to still explain. But when you come into the main squad itself for Odegaard and Osimhen is when you start doing the same procedure that you just did with a mate. You basically go and message. I always message folk anyway for objectives. If the games don't need a win, I'd rather say, well, if you need goals or assists, now's your time to get it, because you may as well help folk out, because it's not like For Odegaard itself, passing the grade, the 84 one is just 2 through ball assists. That's not hard, you can do that in one game. The 84 climbing the ranks, that's 4 games, but as long as you get someone to help you with that, 4 different folk happy to help you with that. Then obviously the line breaker and finishing touch, literally all that is just ask your opponent to let you do 6 lob through assists, and then obviously a finishing touch. And then as each bit goes on, you would then obviously add in each player, the improvements, and you'd find pretty quickly, before you know it, you'll be, and when you look over Odegaard, you could be 9 of 11 and you've not even had to win a game yet. You can just literally say to folk, I'm trying to do this objective, can you help me out, blah 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 blah, and then you're suddenly 9 of 11 and you've only had to play, in Odegaard's case, you'll have only had to use his 80 rated for 4 games, you'll have had to then hopefully just use the 84 for 4 matches, and then hopefully the 85 you'll have done in 1 match, up to 9 of 11. But then hopefully when you're doing it, the 85 you can try and get wins into the bargain. If folk are saying you can have the win, dude, it's no big deal, so then with a bit of luck, if when you're doing the 85 initially, that the players are, you might have one player that's quite sound to help you out, so that way you might have big game player done, and then all you've got to then kind of work on is getting 9 wins, making sure you score with them. In Osimhen's case, it's just a case of the same kind of procedure, but obviously you have to keep winning. I can get up, you can get to 8 games before you start having to rely on wins, so you can kind of keep asking for assists for the 82 one, and so you could pretty much be done fairly quickly up to the 85. So obviously once you've kind of got the 85 done, the heading to the top makes the element where you've got to kind of get the win, but you've obviously got to then rely on games where you score in 7 wins with 2 goals. So ideally when you're doing scoring streak and brace for the best, that you kind of get the goal, 2 goals in each game with them to kind of tick it all off, otherwise you're going to be kind of playing more games than you needed. And then with James as well, that's just kind of squad battles to the extent where you're just doing the low driven on pro with the 80 rated, obviously the chip shot, you've got to make sure it says clip shot recorded, so it's make sure that hopefully the goalie comes out enough and you can chip them over it, chip over the goalkeeper, not just a chip shot where it's LBB and then open net. The ball's got to go over the goalkeeper, and it's got to then say on your, if it's your Xbox, it say game clip recorded, and then it says chip, and then obviously from there, the volley's fairly straightforward, I feel, just a simple across goal, chip it in, and then you kind of, once you move to the 82, you do the same with what you've done with the 80, just do crosses, just even low driven crosses or just corners, whatever it may be. Then 2 goals seem fairly straightforward, and 2 wins on legendary, try and make sure it's easy squads, and then obviously score an assist with 8 wins. You can do the dominant dragon and wonderful winger together, and you'd find yourself kind of flying through it fairly quickly. And we would imagine Monday, Tuesday to expect a 4th player, squad battles oriented, whether it be a Serie A or Bundesliga player, and that should be fairly straightforward to consume. But as I said, you can, if you're clever enough, you can, James you would almost take out, and you'd make sure you've got someone that can link up to everyone in the squad, so you might end up going La Liga Legun for when you're doing Odegaard and Osimhen. Obviously when you're doing James, you just rely on a BPL squad, but for they're not too time consuming, it won't take you too long to piece together. But I'm hoping what I've explained here helps a little bit kind of break it down. I'll also put in Ask Florian's tweet, he did a bit of a breakdown as well, but I'm hoping my explanation kind of it helps you out a little bit more visually to kind of how you do them all collectively, because I know a few people have been asking how to do it quick, how long can I actually fundamentally do it in. But realistically it won't take you too many games if you're good enough at FIFA, I'd imagine. You can pretty much have 8 of 11 done fairly quickly, and even then you can be done in next to no time. Hopefully you find this useful, folks. Let me know, as I said, in the comments where you're at with the objectives. Smash like as always, sub to the channel for new, follow me on Twitter, G's a legend, and I will catch you all later.